I have to talk to Mike for this show, but like outside of jiu-jitsu, like, I
Yeah, I
really
hate
wouldn't
him.
want to.
Yeah, I hate him.
But, but God, that was a good, I felt good about that joke.
Yeah, I hate him so much.
I'm Justin Lesko, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and former pro MMA fighter.
And I'm Mike Callahan, a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu brown belt and a law enforcement officer. Whether you're looking for a new Jiu Jitsu school or you're trying Jiu Jitsu for the first time, finding an actual school can be a huge challenge.
If you're brand new to the sport, you might be brand new to our show. So in that case, welcome. Why not hit that subscribe button now before you forget? And if you're not new to our show, well, then thanks as always for joining us. But as far as today's topic goes, it can be a tad overwhelming deciding where you want to train.
Luckily for you guys, though, your favorite Jiu Jitsu podcast has come through once again, and we've put together a how to list when it comes to picking the perfect Jiu Jitsu school for you.
And when you find that school, you're going to want to make a good first impression. And the best way to do that is to show off all your gear from Epic Roll.
Yeah, aren't we, I don't know, a little concerned that showing up at a new school decked out in Epic Roll gear might make you seem too cool?
No, I think it'll help. Like, hey, look at that guy. He's wearing a pretty sick rash guard. Let's be his friend.
I get it now. Yeah, I see it. It's actually the only reason that I'm still friends with you. So,
Moving along, Epic Roll is apparel designed by grapplers for grapplers, and it will help you look your best both on and off the mats.
rash guards, gis, shirts, shorts, pants, hoodies, belts, coffee mugs, art pieces, whatever you need, they got. You can go to epicrollbjj.com, check out all their merchandise, and at checkout, use the coupon code podcast15 for 15% off of your order.
Give Epic Roll a follow on Instagram at epicrollbjj, and check out their site, like Mike said, epicrollbjj.com, coupon code podcast15.
And now here are some ways to find the best jiu-jitsu school for you. Welcome to That Jiu-Jitsu Podcast.
I don't think you've ever told me this part of why you started training. Did you go to Revolution Academy because that's where Brian White trained? Was that like the driving force that got you to that school?
There was another guy who I worked with that I trained with, or there's another guy who I worked with that trained there. He had actually trained there right like when it opened, and then he went somewhere else and he was thinking about going back there.
Well, so you never had the like, I want to try jiu-jitsu and I've never done it before. Where should I go? I've had that, but you've never had that experience of like you didn't know where to go or how to find a space.
So it's so like I guess it was like 2005. Like I was like a UFC fan. So when they opened Revolution, I don't know what year it was, but when they opened it, I had sent an email and I was planning on checking it out and I just never did. So when these guys that I worked with were talking about it, I was like, oh, I remember that place from when I contacted them years ago. So I decided to check it out. I had interest in it. It was just my motivation just kind of grew when I saw I'll call it a necessity for to have that training for my job.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I started at the academy. I was very lucky because the closest academy to where I lived was the academy that I've been at my entire jiu-jitsu career, and I could have very easily walked into a really, really shitty academy solely based on the fact that it was close to me. But that is number one on my list of important factors to consider when when you're looking for a new school is it close to your house? Because it could be the best school in the world, but if it's an hour and 45 minutes away, you're probably not going to drive there to go to class 3 days a week.
So we've never got into it on the show, and but I left. Justin and I were training at the same gym, and I ended up leaving there a couple years back. And the place that I'm at, I went to another place, and when the jiu-jitsu instructor left that place, like I left that place because I was only there to learn from the jiu-jitsu instructor that was there. And he didn't open up a place for a while. So then I started training at BJJ United, which is Jared Wiener's gym in Jenkintown. So here's the thing: Jenkintown is right outside Philly for anyone who's any of our non-PA people, and we're in Bucks County, or I'm in Bucks County. Justin is a fucking dirty traitor and moved to New Jersey, but regardless, it's so United is a 40-minute drive. Sometimes it's a 40 or 50-minute drive from my house, but it is what it is. It's the best place for me right now, and it's just a sacrifice I have to make. I have to make that trek to get in there and train, and it's been worth it. It's been worth every minute of the drive since I started.
But you're also in a different place. Like I said, you're not a brand new wipeout who's never trained before. You
Right.
have different things on your checklist that need to be met for you to train at a school. And we'll talk about some of those, and I think we'll have some fun with some of those. But if you're a brand new white belt, proximity to where you live is going to be obviously high on the rankings. If the schedule doesn't gel with your schedule, you're not going to. You can say with the best intentions, like, oh, I'll make it work, but you're not going to skip work and leave work early to go to your jiu-jitsu school if you're a brand new white belt. Like, you're probably not going to do that. If you're looking for signs that you're at a bad school as a white belt, I made a video about that, and the link's up here, so you can check that out. And that kind of goes hand in hand with this about signs you're at a bad school. But if you're a brand new white belt, schedule, how close it is to your house, and now sort of bleeding into non-white belts, maybe you're looking for a switch or you're looking for an improvement on the school you're currently in. Does the school look good? Does it look cool? Will it look cool on Instagram? Like, I say that as a joke, but if the school doesn't look professional and it doesn't look like a pro gym, unless you're at Daisy Fresh, you're probably not going to be super excited to be there.
Yeah, I think that especially for beginners, I'm not speaking to people transitioning from one gym to another. But for beginners, there is something to be said about being aesthetically pleasing.
Aesthetics are important. If it looks bad, doesn't mean it is. Like, it doesn't have to look like it's the Legion, Keenan's brand new gym. It doesn't have to look like Fight. It doesn't have to look like Fight Sports in Miami, like top of the line facility. But
Fight sports. I love Fight Sports, Jim.
If it's literally a garage, it maybe consider somewhere else. And as a person who is not a brand new person, I need content to look good, man. It's got to look good. I can't, I put videos up of us training in your garage during COVID out of necessity, but like, you should be able to walk into your school and know you're in a professional place. If you're paying someone for a service, don't shortchange yourself by getting a bad like, pay for good service. Does it have a shower? Does it have a locker room? Does it have storage? These are all things that you might need to consider. And I could see someone being put off if the place they train at doesn't have those things. If I was like, I've never heard of jiu-jitsu, I'm going to try it, and they didn't have those things, that's why it's on my list, because I've seen people come in and not know what they're getting.
Aesthetics are important, and I think that's from like a marketing standpoint. It's not just, it's from a general marketing standpoint. And this, we're speaking now to gym owners, but like from a marketing standpoint, having a place that is appealing visually is,
brand new person or experienced person, when you walk into a class, you're going to try a class. Don't sign up for a place until you've rolled there, taken a class, preferably more than one, so you can see how different instructors are and whatever. But if you walk into a place and there's nobody on the mat, that should be a sign. If you walk into a place and all the people that are on the mat look miserable, that should be a sign. If you walk into a place and everybody on the mat smells bad, it should also be a sign. Like, you're judging a school based on the instructor and the school itself, but the people who are in the school, you will one day be one of them. So if you want to be like those people or not like those people, take that into consideration.
Another thing that is inevitable is the pricing aspect of it, the cost aspect of jujitsu, and it's something that you're going to have to take into account, especially if you're coming in off the street. Um, if you've been training jujitsu, you have a general idea of how much it's going to cost. But if you're coming in off the street, you don't have anything to compare it to. What I will say is there's some of these bigger gyms who are affiliated with like well-known big names in the jiu-jitsu community, and they tend to be, I'll say pricey, but very expensive. It could be difficult to train there if you have a budget in mind.
On one hand, you get what you pay for. And if you're paying
Right.
next to nothing, you might not get a lot of amenities. You might not get the best instruction. You might not have the biggest mat space. If you're paying, on the other end, if you're paying $1,000 a month, you're probably getting ripped off to some extent. Like, it is a fine line to walk between I get what I pay for, so I pay a little extra, so I get a little extra, versus I'm getting the same instruction I could get 5 miles down the road, but I'm paying double. And unfortunately, experience is really the only way that's going to show that to you. If you are paying a lot and you don't think you're getting better, or your teammates are losing every single time they compete, or no one's competing at all because they don't feel comfortable competing, or you just feel like you're sort of stuck in the same rotation, you're probably overpaying for the instruction that you're getting. It can be said, you can pay $50 a month and become a world champion. You can pay $1,000 a month and never get your blue belt. Like, both can be true. So that's why this one is sort of hard, where I know that it would be easy if I said, you know what, for good jiu-jitsu, you should pay X dollars a month. That's the number. But it's impossible, because X dollars don't equal X dollars in two separate places. Jersey dollars don't equal California dollars. It's just more expensive in one place versus the other.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's inevitable that it will factor into your decision. And as somebody who's coming, like I said, who's coming in off the street to try jujitsu, it should be a major consideration, because you don't have anything else to go off of, and you might have a budget in your mind. So, you do get what you pay for. If somebody's advertising like unlimited classes for $25 a month, probably shouldn't, you know. But at the same time, 10 years ago, there was a place in Jersey that was charging like $250 a month for unlimited classes. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, those places exist, and I know this is advice that gym owners won't like, but if you're a new person, try a couple places in the same area. If you go to one place and they tell you it's $250 a month and you liked the gym, and you go to the next place and they tell you it's $100 a month and you liked the gym, pick the $100 one. Like, if you're a white belt, it doesn't matter. So if you like both gyms and they hit a lot of the things that we have on our list and it's half the price or less than half the price, try it out. There's a reason why. And if you're a gym owner and you're mad that we tell people to try multiple places,
Yeah.
your product should speak for itself. You should be confident in your product that like when I was doing sales at Revolution Academy, if someone told me they were going to go try another place in the area, I felt fine with that because I knew they would come back, because I knew that our school was the best and they would like our school better than anywhere else they were going to go. That's just, it is what it is, man. You're a consumer. As much as jiu-jitsu is, we love jiu-jitsu and we build a large chunk of our lives around jiu-jitsu, 99% of people are just consumers buying a product, and they have a right to test that product out and comparison shop.
Whatever gym fits, you fit in well, whatever, and you're supposed to be there. Like, I would have to calculate a budget, whatever, but I would pay whatever I possibly could if they raised the price. If I found out that I could pay, after doing calculations, if I was like, I'll spend $300 a month on jiu-jitsu. There's some places where I'd be like, I wouldn't spend that here, But
Right.
if United was like, you have to pay $300 a month, and that was the top of my budget, I would pay that. to stay there. Now, Jared Weiner, do not start charging me $300 a month. I'm just saying that when budgets are important, this isn't we're not financial advisors. Budgets are important, but when you find a place that suits you and you fit in and it's just a great fit, you'll know. And then that budget, it like I said, if I had a budget of $300 and United was like, it's $300, I would pay $300. If I was rich and my budget was $1,000 a month just for jiu-jitsu, then I would pay $1,000 a month if they raised it to. That's how good of a fit United is for me right now. So another thing too is, and this is so easy now, we've talked about the internet and how it's kind of influenced the jiu-jitsu culture and YouTube and all these videos and everything. So it's such a useful tool, not just in jiu-jitsu, but just in society. So
yes, the internet is good.
yeah, thank you, internet. But it would be really silly for you not to check out who your money's going to. Not to check out the school, not to check out the instructor. And I'm not like saying like just Google him, but check out his lineage, check out any or her lineage. Sorry, you don't have to be just a guy. You can be a female jiu-jitsu instructor too. Emily Kwok, don't beat the shit out of me, from Princeton Jiu-Jitsu, who's a great teacher. But check out your instructor's lineage, check out their competition history, check out everything that you possibly can about them to make sure you know where you're going. You know who your teacher is. You know what their background in the sport is.
And if you Google them and they show up as a person who admitted that they wanted to be a rapist, but they were unable to maintain an erection, and then also they had students who, like 20 years later, actually committed a very terrible sexual assault in a parking garage, you would probably not want to train there. But I can give you more information about that on our Patreon bonus episode all about Team Lloyd Irvin, because everything that I just said is a true story. And that is available on our Patreon, and the link is in the description below. You should check that out. Just saying. But yes, Google the person you're going to learn from.
I like the little plug.
On top of just Google, there's also a site that's called Belt Checker, and it's kind of new, and it really suffered bad luck of it really was really getting going, and then the pandemic hit and like jiu-jitsu all got shut down for a really long time. But Belt Checker it's like user verified. So before you can claim a rank, but other users can verify and basically vouch for your rank. So if you go on there and a potential instructor of yours says they're a black belt and nobody else on Belt Checker says they're a black belt, they probably aren't. And it's not as simple as like thumbs up, thumbs down. Like, to be a black belt, you have to be verified by other black belts, and sort of down the ranks, people can leave comments about how they know you or how they've trained with you or where you've trained. So Google can be easy to fake, as you will see in the bonus episode with Lloyd, where you can make Google tricks to hide some of your incriminating past from the rest of the world. But Belt Checker doesn't lie. Belt Checker doesn't lie.
Pluggy McPlugstein over here.
Belt Checker doesn't lie. So check out Belt Checker.
I don't know how this. I will give my thoughts on Belt Checker next week after I thoroughly dive into it.
Okay. In addition to Belt Checker, this one is going to sound like I'm joking at first, and I kind of am, but it's also true. Check out your instructor on social media. Check out their Instagram. If they do not have an Instagram, that's a concern, because it's 2021.
It's red flag.
But also,
red flag.
You should be able to see that if you're going to a school and they're a black belt instructor, they should have some followers. Like, they shouldn't have 500 followers.
Right.
It's not the end all be all. I am sure that there are black belts out there who would whoop my ass who have a tenth of the followers I do. And just because someone has a lot of followers doesn't mean they're great. It's not like a 100% verifiable situation here. But if a person has no no internet presence, no social media presence, that's like Mike said, that's a red flag.
Except for BJJ United, they don't have a internet, or they don't have social media anymore. They went during the pandemic. They went off the grid.
Which kind of proves my point that it's not an end all be all situation, because Jared Weiner is
Right.
a fantastic instructor who doesn't have an Instagram. And that's why I led off by saying that there are certain situations where it's not.
Look at Justin trying to suck up right now. It's all right, Justin. He's not going to kill you.
I don't know. He might. Um, but like I said, on the flip side, if someone has 1 million followers, it doesn't mean that they're a great jiu-jitsu coach. It's just one of the things to look out for when you're doing your comprehensive search for a new school. Does that school have an Instagram? Does that instructor have an Instagram? And does it look like they know what they're doing on their Instagram?
If a podcast has roughly 2,700 subscribers on YouTube, that does mean that they're a very good podcast.
Did you see the comment a couple weeks ago where we had said in one of the
I know what you're
episodes
gonna say. Yep.
we had said in one of the episodes about being like a popular podcast, and somebody was like, "You're a popular podcast," and I responded,
This one?
"Yeah, yeah." He said, "This one," and I said, "Yeah, we're obviously the world's most favorite jiu-jitsu podcast. It's just science." And then he like thumbs up the comment. He came up, and he gave up his troll. I think another thing that's important for, not for like off the street white belts, but for colored belts and people who've trained for a long time, it's not just like the lineage of the coach or their accomplishments. I think style is a big thing when it comes to who's teaching you. Like if you're a wrestler going to Keenan school where they're going to do a lot of non-wrestling, they're going to do a lot of worm guard, they're going to do a lot of lapel stuff, they're going to do a more unconventional approach, it might not be a great fit for you. Keenan's one of the best in the world, but it might not be the right fit. I think styles need to match up.
Yeah, and that's, personally, that's I kind of just that's the fit that I got at United. So that's something that I can personally speak to. You got to make sure that if you're switching schools, it has to be the right match. You've trained jiu-jitsu, you know what works for you. If you're a purple belt, or a seasoned blue belt, you should kind of know where your game is and what your strengths are, and you should seek to be in a place where you're gonna kind of build on your strengths. So yeah, that's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something that people really think of. I think a lot of times, when you get to a point where you've been successful in jiu-jitsu and you want to maybe take the next leap, like you want to go from being good at jiu-jitsu to great at it, you might just find the closest world champion that you can afford to train under. But if they train and if they roll in a completely conflicting style to what your game is, it might help round you out, but it also might not be fun for you. It might have adverse effects. Like I'm all for being a well-rounded grappler, but if the styles don't match up, you might not take the leap you think you're gonna take. It might hold you back more than anything. So don't just find a champion, find someone who's a champion and you think that you'll like their style, or at least like learning what their style is if it's different than yours. I would not want to go to a school that was only instructed by D1 wrestlers. I don't. I'm a fantastic wrestler. I'm the best wrestler on this show, but it's not how I want to train. That's not the style I want.
It's a lie.
Remember that time I hit that ankle pick and you got all mad and you were pouting for the rest of the rounds?
It wasn't I was mad at the ankle pick. I was mad because it was a fucking cheap shot and we had like just broke and you went from there. Anyway, I'm not going to even waste another breath on that argument. So, if you've watched us rolling or you've heard us talk about it, we are half guard players. We use half guard differently, but when we're talking about our guard and our strength in our guards, it's half guard for the both of us. The one thing that I will say about United and Jared Weiner's style, and it's went it's been passed on to all of his students down there. They are smash passers. I remember the first couple times I went in there, they were licking their chops at fucking half guard. It was a huge contrast in styles, and it gave me I was like, I'm gonna have to reinvent my game. 9 years into training, I'm gonna have to reinvent my game because I can't. But I am so grateful for it because it's made me better. My half guard has gotten so much better because of these guys and because of their style. So just find a place that can help you build upon your strengths. If you would have asked me, I would have been like, my half guard's great. And then I walk in and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. My half guard sucks, but this school has made me better because it's forced me to, reevaluate things with my game and make adjustments into my half guard to be able to survive. So if you're transitioning from one school to another and you're looking for a new school, find somewhere where you're going to be challenged, where you're going to be pushed to the brink, where where you think your strengths are going to be challenged.
There's a difference between they have a style that's different than yours versus they have a style that you don't want to be your style.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you are a gi player only, you're probably not going to move to Puerto Rico to train with the Danaher Death Squad and defend leg locks the whole time.
I'll move to Puerto Rico right now. I'll fucking move to Puerto Rico right now. Where's Lincoln? Lincoln, you want to go to Puerto Rico?
Lincoln the dog?
He's sleeping. Yeah, my dog. So there's two more things that I just want to touch base on, and one is intensity. So, and what I mean by that is the intensity of the training sessions at whatever school that you're looking for, and this can be a deciding factor whether you're brand new to the sport or whether you're looking for gyms. You might walk in and you might see a room full of killers who are, mainly a competition team, and the level of intensity is through the roof. You might walk into the door, don't walk into doors because you'll get hurt, but you might walk in the door and you might walk into a more like hobbyist setting where it's just, no one's trying to win world championships. No one's trying to win tournaments. It's just, maybe geared towards self-defense and BJJ hobbyist. So we've talked about setting goals on here before. Know what you want before you go looking. Have it in your mind, and intensity is one of those things.
Yeah, Mike does, as I have alluded to previously, struggle with self-awareness. So maybe if you struggle with self-awareness as well, do a real hard look at what are you trying to get out of jiu-jitsu. Do you want just a place to train because you love jiu-jitsu and you want to use that for exercise? Or do you want to be a world champion and make sure your goals in jiu-jitsu line up with, like Mike said, the intensity with where you go? And a good school will allow you to do both. A good school will have a division between a competition team and a hobbyist, or an advanced class and a fundamentals class. So if your school that you're checking out doesn't have that and it's all killers and you're just trying to learn some self-defense, maybe move it on down the street a little bit.
Yeah, maybe go down the road a little bit. And then the last thing is, and this isn't jiu-jitsu specific, but you see it in gyms all the time. It can be an intimidating thing to walk into a gym and, there's already an established culture and people in there have already, bought into the culture. And with that comes like cliques and everything. Just because you're training jiu-jitsu doesn't mean that you have to, jump in these cliques and, be best friends with everybody. Just, if you're feeling pressured by a culture, go find another place to train. If you just want to show up there and, just get in shape and get better at jiu-jitsu, like that's totally fine too.
So this is related to what we're talking about, but it's about hockey, not jiu-jitsu. My brother Jeff had a really good sort of comparison.
Talking about jiu-jitsu.
On our hockey team, there's two guys who my brother Jeff always puts it like they're the same as if you went to the gym and were running on a treadmill and someone was running on the treadmill next to you. You don't talk to that person. You're doing the same
Right.
activity, but you don't have anything like you have no conversation with them. You're not like clicky, whatever. It can be the same way with jujitsu. You can walk in and I mean, I'm not saying be like a dick and just not talk to anyone, but like if you're just sort of an introverted person, you can show up, train with people, and they don't have to be your best friends. Like, I have to talk to Mike for this show, but like outside of jujitsu, like, I
Yeah, I
really
hate
wouldn't
him.
want to.
Yeah, I hate him.
But, but God, that was a good, I felt good about that joke.
Yeah, I hate him so much.
People train together for 10 years sometimes, and they see each other 3 times a week, and you're coming in as a fresh person into that environment. So like, you don't feel like you need to jump into these cliques or don't feel like you're on the outside. And again, if you go into a school for a trial class and no one talks to you, that's probably a bad sign. Like if no one says hello to you, no one is welcoming to you at all, might not be a great place to be.
It doesn't have to be CrossFit clicky where everyone has to like go up and shake hands and introduce yourself and blah blah blah. You know, but
Mike was drinking the CrossFit Kool-Aid for a while.
I did CrossFit for a little while. It's extremely clicky. But anyway, nothing against Matt Frazier. Come on the show and talk to us, Matt.
I think to sum up, I think the best thing to do is to send us a message. And if you're looking for a new school to train or you think that you found a school that you like, just send Mike a DM on Instagram and he'll tell you whether you should or shouldn't train there. We'll put up a little questionnaire like about you, the person, to see what you like, and we'll check out the school for you.
I do background checks. Like we can do background checks. That jiu-jitsu background check.
Perfect. And make sure you send it to his personal Instagram, not the show's, because I don't want my phone blowing up all day with people asking where they should train. But I'll link to Mike's personal Instagram below.
It's good. Good for you. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure that you give it a big thumbs up and make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. We have a ton of content that's coming your way over the next couple of weeks.
If you don't want to wait for more content from us, I think there's a video on the screen over here. There's one down here too. You can check those out. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll catch you in the next video.
Thanks, guys.